Good evening, everyone. We are about ready to start. Come on down. My name is Ed McCormick. I'm the senior associate with HYA, a national recruiting firm that has been engaged by the board to help facilitate the hiring of the next super. Just a bit of overview in terms of process. This is part of our community engagement process. We will use this information as part of the leadership profile report that we will submit to the board next week, assuming that we're not snowed out more than one day. From that, we will also ask the board to approve a set of desired characteristics, a profile for the next superintendent. We will do this in a public meeting, and all of the information that's gathered from this will be available on the website, and sometime soon after that, within a day or so. From that, we will start recruiting. The desired characteristics report becomes very important. One is based on your information, you telling us what the needs are for the district, what the characteristics should be for the superintendent, and everything is driven by that document. We will recruit. We'll post it on our webpage. On our webpage, just for information, gets about 25,000 hits a month. We will then use it in all the other advertising venues that the board will approve in the next few days. The document becomes very important because it allows consistency through the process. When the board later on in March starts to interview candidates, everything will be tied and matched and measured vetted against the desired characteristics report. So there will be, and everyone, whether they're internal, external candidates, will all come through and be vetted against that document. Tonight we have, we ask you 3 questions, basically, and we'll take that. Remember that we're building a desired characteristic, the profile for the new superintendent. We can't solve problems from days gone by, but we're trying to make sure you have the most highly qualified candidate to deal with problems going forward. So it is 3 questions essentially is this. The first question is, what are the strengths of Mount Vernon? What's good about Mount Vernon? What would entice people to want to move to Mount Vernon, stay in Mount Vernon, and be a part of Mount Vernon? The second question is about challenges. As you look out over the next 3 to 5 years, what are the top challenges that you believe that the next superintendent will have to address in order for the district to move forward and to move to the next step to be all it can be? So challenges looking out over the next 3 to 5 years. The third question is the attributes, skills, and experiences that you think the next superintendent should possess in order to be successful. There is those things, those skills, those experiences, those personal traits that an individual must possess if he or she will be successful in the future, successful in this district. So, Karen, you want to say hello? And then we'll start with comments. I think there are people with microphones in and around the auditorium. So raise your hand and someone should come rushing to you with the microphone. If I, going down, the questions, I thought there was someone with microphones, but the first question on strengths, you got, okay. Please raise your hand and the gentleman will bring you the microphone.
All right, we got one right back here.
Hi, good afternoon, well, good evening. One of the positives that I would like to put forth is that Mount Vernon is a tight-knit community. And for those of us that have been born and raised here and have the privilege to now educate here, we are familiar with the families in the neighborhoods. We understand the needs of our students, regardless of what side of town they may reside on. So I would feel like that would be definitely a positive. I don't know if anybody else would like to contribute to the positives before we move to our long list of needs and concerns.
Any other one want to talk about the strengths? And I like that term, positives of Mount Vernon. Thank you. Yes, sir.
In every neighborhood. We have, especially the elementary schools, so that you don't have to walk too far to go to school, and you know, assuming that you live in the area, that you make friends easily, and parents consider it safe.
Neighborhood schools. Thank you. Anything else? I wasn't born here. I'm new to Mount Vernon. I've been in 3 times now, but it looks like a wonderful place. And one of the trips down, I'm trying to talk Rita to give me a tour of the city. So a lot of folks here, so it must be something good that brings you back and keeps you here. Go ahead.
The fact that it's a close proximity to the city, so that you get that good home feeling in a small town, but then you have access to other towns, makes it desirable, which is the reason why I came back to Mount Vernon.
Thank you.
I just walked in, but the question was asked is, what are some positive things about Mount Vernon?
Yes.
Very similar to off of what she just said, the small town feel, and also, I moved here from New York City. You know, I was looking for a community of people that look like me and look like my kids, because we had first, that's the person. But it's the small town. You get to know the people of your community, because like in New York City, there'd never be a chance where I would sit and talk to the superintendent or the commissioner or even meet with the board trustees. Our voices definitely wouldn't be heard in a bigger city. I do enjoy Mount Vernon. I've also had my oldest one, he's a senior this year, so he's went from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. Yeah, so there are some positives to it.
Thank you. Anyone else? And it's okay if we move down and you think of something in one of the categories we passed by Karen to make sure she captures it in the right bucket. I did not say that, but I will. We will report back in these 3 buckets, so it will not be all over the place. You'll see how people thought about Mount Vernon, what they think the challenges are, and what the attributes should be. Second one on the list is challenges. 3 to 5 years, what do you think needs to be fixed to make Mount Vernon even greater? To go from good to great? All the hands go up.
So one of my biggest things is, I've mentioned it over and over again, is customer service, because we, the parents, are the customers, and making sure that our voices are heard and making sure that we matter. So I feel like not understanding how times are now where people have options and we don't have to stay is understanding how to work with your customers.
Thank you. Challenges, 3 to 5 years, those things that must be addressed. Yes.
Hello, how are you? Good evening.
Good.
Thank you
How
for
are
being
you?
here tonight. Kind of piggybacking on what was said, a big challenge has been communication, and communication in different formats and communications in different languages. We have an increasingly bigger population of Hispanic families here in the district, and since none of the beyond the superintendent search, there has been no correspondence in the past year regarding other issues that we've had in the district in Spanish. So there are families that I've spoken to that were not aware of changes and major decisions being made because they are not, English first language speakers. I understand from the meeting last night that the survey is available in Spanish, but the introduction letter was not available in Spanish. So you're going to have someone who's not going to know what they're clicking for because the letter of introduction is not in Spanish. And plus, not only the introduction letter, but the preview, because this letter is sent kind of through, I think, Blackboard. So it's sent, from the district, and there's no introduction in Spanish saying, please click here to see this letter. And even in the English format, when we receive the communications, it's just like, sometimes it's set in a PDF, and not everyone is able to open PDFs, especially if they're using a phone. So I suggest that especially for all of the communications, that it be in the body of the email, because a lot of times lately from the district, our communication has been a link or a PDF or a Word document, and not everyone, including myself, can open that.
Great, thank you.
Hi. Challenges, lack of transparency across the board, lack of equity in how information is dispersed, in how decisions are made, intentionally misleading parents, community members about things that are going on, decisions are being made. And other challenges are not considering the future. Decisions that we make today directly affect the future. And if they're not equitable, if they're not honest, they're going to affect what goes on in the future. So there's a very big problem with honesty and transparency that is owed to the residents.
Did I see someone on the side? Any new speaker, someone who has not spoken yet, if not, we'll recycle.
Hi, good evening. The problem I see is transparency that's going on at the board, and it does not appear that the superintendent and the board is working in the community's favor. So we need somebody that can be really justified, honest, and transparency. The other question I have for you, have you seen the article that's going around on social media about your organization and what they are doing? No, you can't speak about that.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I have no problem speaking about
Okay.
almost anything.
Okay.
I saw that article the day and someone sent it to me. Someone asked a question, Liz asked a question last night Lynn, I'm sorry, asked a question last night, and I didn't fully understand the question, and it said about the organization.
Right.
I didn't see anything negative in the organization. What it said was, if you look at the heading, it says that a district wasted their money by doing a national search and hiring a local person. That is that's not problematic. From my standpoint, districts do that. They do national searches, even if they have a favorite son, to make sure that that favorite son compares favorably with national candidates. It did not say that HYA did anything. I don't know why.
I thought it was it was your organization.
HYA
Yeah, that did that.
didn't know. We did a search.
Okay,
The board hired us to do the search, and we did a national search, and they ended up hiring a local person. That was that should be kudos to the credit to the person that was hired, one, to the willingness of the board to vet the candidates against a national pool, and that's what turned out to be. I don't. You could say in perfect foresight, if they'd known that that person was there, if you knew today who the person would be, I wouldn't be standing here now. So
I'm glad we don't.
The object is to find candidates that meets the employee's needs. So when the question was posed last night, I thought it was a problem, something that happened in Maryland.
Yeah.
But if you read the headlines, it doesn't say anything about a problem. Someone wrote the article that they wasted money because they hired a local person. To me, that isn't wasting money if you did a full-time search.
Okay, my next question is, doesn't the school board, the trustees, doesn't the superintendent reports to the board?
Always.
Always. But in some cases, it does not appear that way. But you have nothing to do with that, I understand that. But that's what I'm saying, we want a person that's going to be justified, fair, and transparent. That's what we want. Okay?
Gotcha.
All right, okay.
All three of those.
Okay.
Thank you for the questions. Anyone else? Challenges? In the rear.
I wanted to ask, what is the plans for the safety or after school, how the kids leave and get home safely?
You asked what is the plan for, I didn't hear you, the latter part of it.
What are the plans for the safety protocols and travel for the kids getting home that don't or don't have family to pick them up?
If you would put that into a statement of challenge, I'll be happy to record it. But I can't answer about what the plans are. Those are board issues. But if you think that that's a challenge or a need for the district, then we will record it as such. Yes, ma'am. She's ready, unless there's someone, is there someone or not? I think she's okay, yes.
I guess that's a great example of communication in the district. My question more so is, our community has nothing to do with you. We were given surveys within the last year, and many people believe those surveys were very misleading. So now that we have this new survey being presented to us, how do we even get community buy-in? Because we're scared, because we don't know how our answers will be manipulated against us. And so you have this community of people who were just traumatized with a survey, and now we're given a new survey, and we have no idea how this will impact us. So we're scared.
Well, it will impact you based on the direction that the survey says. We have no, it's a ballot survey that we probably use 1,000 times in the last 5 years. It is not there's no way that people can put the thumb on the scale and make it come out in a different direction. It's a wasted discussion. What is important about the survey is that it identifies the needs of the district, and that overrides whether someone voted twice. Now, they could vote twice, but if people but we have some mechanisms in the background that would catch most of that. But the real reason for the survey is a research-based survey that is based on what is the right best practices of successful superintendents. And that's what you want. That's where you want to be. Because it doesn't matter what has happened in the past. What are you going to do to ensure you get the best individual and to serve the needs of the district? And in order to do that, you need to tell us what those needs are, so that we can vet all of the candidates against that and find the person that most closely fit the needs of the district going forward. And that's the intent. Yes, ma'am.
So I know Ms. Frenchel had mentioned the article that I had sent to Dr. Smith, and I think she shared it with the board, but I was concerned about the other articles I found over the past couple of years about your company and school districts who were unhappy with the results that were given to them. So my question is, what was the last district that this company hired the superintendent for?
What was the last district?
What was the last school district that your company was used for to hire the superintendent? Because there's a lot of articles online that districts were unhappy with this company.
You please show those to me. When we did the proposal, we showed all of the districts that we've done in the last 2 years in New York. There's about 16 districts, and you can go to those. With reference.
So it's right here. You did Colorado, Texas, Lincoln, Nebraska. There's quite a few articles online where school districts have complained about this your company.
This team was hired by the board. I can tell you what we've done in New York, what we've done regionally. You should have Googled me. That would have maybe given you some indication. There's I don't know what happened in Colorado. You have to give me the specific cases. But I think someone asked me this last night. 93% of the people that we placed have been they made it through their first contract. 80% of the ones that we placed are still in those positions or have retired from those positions. So the sustainability and the success, you don't get 1,600 application searches over the last 30 years without being able to replicate this in a high level. I could find an instance anywhere, because if this was an exact science and you were not at 100%, that would matter. But we are thank you. I don't know my left from my right. So it's not recruiting is not an exact science. It's a science. It's an art. We excel at it. I think you can check any of our references. We're happy to share those with you. They're in our proposal. The ones we've done in New York, the ones we've done across the country. Call any one of them. The ones that we've done in New York, I've done about 1/3 of them. So you should Google me and see what you think. I think you'll find a track of success. And if you, I don't know how many of us would be sitting here if our life depended on us not making a mistake somewhere along the line. Is there another person, please? Is there anyone in the rear if not, to the board? Guys, you're challenging me, but we need to be talking about the challenges of Mount Vernon. Yes.
Yes, I understand how Erica feels in the statements that she just made, but on the flip side of that, it could be that someone put those articles out there so that maybe they would like to start this process over do not like what your company is doing, and those articles are there, so we can start over and keep going on and on and on, the same person as we should be moving on. So I don't know if that was staged or what. You understand what I'm saying?
No, not really.
Okay, I'm saying that those articles was put out there because they want to stop this search
Oh,
with this particular company, with your company, and start all over again and keep the same people in the same places. You feel me? I mean, I'm sorry.
I hear you. Now I understand. I won't comment on that.
Okay.
I don't, there are all kinds of things on the webpage. You can Google and find out anything. I think I told you last night that we're going to go back and we have a professional review of the final candidate. We go back 7 years to dig out and triangulate all the information on social media, news media, criminal background checks, financial background checks, the whole 9 yards. So to test the integrity of what we're hearing, because people could tell us anything. We do reference checks. You got to check the references. So it's a pretty thorough process. But if you live and die by what's on Google, you could be in for a sad ending. I invite you, or those who want to. I live in New York. I live in Poughkeepsie. Google me. There is and make your own decision about that.
Okay, once you get close to the candidates, will we have the opportunity to see those candidates, or that's going to be private?
The interviewing of the candidates at this point will be done by the board.
Okay, not the community. We won't be able to review that. Okay, all right.
Yes. Yes, I think so. Yes.
To circle back about challenges, I feel one of the challenges that we also currently have is the fact that we are in the midst of possible closures here in the district. And we feel that some things have gone backwards. We're hiring a superintendent and prior to or in tandem with schools possibly closing. And I feel that that could possibly be a challenge for hiring because, rather than having a superintendent in place first and have possible school closures, we don't want school closures, but have a superintendent in place prior to a significant reorganization that is being planned. So that is a challenge right now that not only are we dealing, with the superintendent search, but we're also dealing with a major reorganization here in the district. And that needs to be factored in with regards to the timeline I think we need to have a superintendent sooner than later, and that should probably take priority before the reorganization.
We have, yes. Someone here? Yes.
Do you have an answer to what this young lady said? Because it does make sense if you're going to close schools and get a new superintendent.
No, I don't have an answer. That is not the intent for tonight.
Did the board inform you of that, though? That was getting ready to happen?
Oh, yes. I mean, you would almost pick up any newspaper. I get something about it almost every day. But understand, and some came in after I said this. Our idea is to here tonight to define the needs of the district as from the eyes of the members in the district. It would be unfair to the board, to the district, for me to stand here and try to tell you what the answers are. What you want is an individual who can come in and work with you on developing those answers as you move forward. That is why I asked you for your challenges. So what she said was, simply was not, I don't think she asked for an answer, but she mentioned the reorganization as a challenge, and we recorded it as a challenge, that the person comes in a perfect world, would have to be able to deal with that reorganization and and what was the other thing?
with the reorganization itself, but also, you know, we feel that a permanent superintendent should be involved in the process of the reorganization
Well, that,
before it
yeah.
happens. And
Well,
it's about to be voted on in March, and we feel that the person that's going to step in the permanent superintendent role should be part of the process.
I'm going to give you one editorial comment, and hopefully it's my last one for the night. The board will hold whoever's in charge accountable for that reorganization. That is the board's
But
responsibility.
again, that's part of the input from the community, and the community wants
And
that input from whoever is coming.
And I will put it in that format, that's a challenge for the board to hold the superintendent accountable. And they will have to figure out how to do that in relationship to what's happening in the district. You are where you are, and so that becomes the responsibility of the board. And they will hear that, because we'll put it in the report.
With your extensive history in superintendent search, have you had other instances like this where you've been actively looking for a superintendent who's having to go into a district where, you know, we're in financial distress, things like that, where schools are closing? Or, you know, have you had experience with a search like this before?
The experience in districts where the financial stress has been there, I don't know, I don't remember having any district where in the midst of closing a number of buildings. But my job isn't to close the building. My job is to find the right person to manage that closure. Yes, in
So I just want to make sure that I'm on target with what I'm getting ready to respond with. So the prompt was, what are the challenges that the future superintendent will face, possibly, correct?
Yes, the top challenges, key challenges, as you look out over the next 3 to 5 years, that the new superintendent must face in order to create success for Mount Vernon.
Okay, well, one challenge that the new superintendent may have to deal with if it's not resolved by the end of this school year is that the teaching, security, and there's one other unit, TAs, our contract has been up. And we're still in the process of trying to get that rectified. So that's also a concern that will be brought forth to that incoming superintendent. So that's one of the many, in addition to all the ones that everyone else has mentioned as well.
Thank you. Yes.
I think an additional challenge, as the other ones have stated, is enticing families to want to bring their kids here. Because while we're in this reorganization, you have families that may do a mass exodus from the school district. So that superintendent should be very aware of what they're stepping into and how can they keep the families that are here in the school district, and also what can they bring to the school district to enhance what our children, for lack of better words, lacking in the curriculum and in the extra activities that, if you're a very active parent, your child is in school, but then we're also paying for the extracurricular activities where other communities have those already encompassed in their child's district. And so that should be also at the top of the list for the incoming superintendent.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
So my addition to that would be, with the possibility of the New York State Education sending a monitor to our district, how open would the new superintendent be towards this?
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, sorry. I've got 2 kids right now at It's teen, and one of them just started this year, but one's in grade 12. So one of the things actually I've been very happy with has been the teaching has been great since they've been there. The older one has been 4 years now, and the other one's had great teaching. But I sympathize for the teachers because they have not had an increase in, I think I've heard 4 years or more, like a contractual pay increase in 4 years or more. So I think on a teaching level, that's something that needs to be addressed. I think they're great teachers that work hard, but they're not, they haven't had an increase in years. I also think one of the things that has been a challenge this year with the oldest who has been there longer, there was good extracurricular activities up until this year, and because of the lack of money, they all ended. So I understand teachers are not expected or required or wouldn't stay after school to do programs, obviously without extra funding, but because there's no money, that hasn't happened. So I think it's been a big detriment to the kids, and that's something that I think needs to be seriously, I know at one of the last meetings I asked about budget in relation to after-school activities, and nobody had an answer for me. So I guess just accounting for that piece as well. So one of the programs that, like for example, ACE, it was a mentorship program at high school to go into the city and be mentored by architects and engineers in things related to, like, say, engineering, construction, and architecture. So my oldest did it for grade 10 and 11, but this year he was supposed to do it and it got canceled. So things like that that are not just sports acts after school, but like a mentorship program that's great for university in terms of learning your interests or learning what maybe isn't your interest, or like say being mentored by people. Mount Vernon had the contract and then they lost it because they didn't have the money to bus the kids to the city. So it's a program that we may not get back next year, and it's I guess I just think it's too bad for all the kids who have not had an opportunity to do it, because it was great for my son for the 2 years and would have been great for this year had it happened, but it didn't. So I guess I'm just thinking more about too, not just the daytime piece, but the after school piece, and then looking at helping the teachers to be incentivized to stay, because their pay hasn't been, like I say, increased in years. So I think those are pieces that need to be seriously brought into the fold too, going forward.
Thank you.
Something I just thought about with everyone speaking, I guess it would be very important for us to have a superintendent who's open and welcoming of the community, maybe having chats, maybe having more communication with community, so that we don't come to superintendent searches and giving you all of our community grievances. So maybe to have more of an open superintendent with more open forums.
Right. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Have you had the opportunity to go online and review the couple of board meetings that we've had in Mount Vernon?
Yeah, we've seen them, some of them, yes.
Oh, okay. Just wonder whether you've seen that. And will you be going around to other facilities to do what you're doing tonight, or this is going to be the only one for the community?
This is the only one for the community tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Karen just reminded me that there is a survey that's being made available to the community, but there is not another community forum plan. Yes, ma'am.
I actually had a question related to that. Just in your experience in doing these superintendent searches, considering there's only one community meeting and just a survey, do you think this is an accurate cross-section of the community that will give you data that's going to effectively allow you to choose a candidate based upon that?
My only assumption is that the people here are interested in being here. I can't make any other assumptions about people who are not here.
No, I'm not asking for assumption. I'm asking based upon your experience. based upon other searches that you've done, like, has it been the same pathway of having maybe only one community meeting and that giving you a full subsection of what information you need? I'm just asking from a data standpoint. Data's only as good as how you perform your operations to get the data. Do you think having one community meeting, anonymous surveys that aren't being sent out in more than one, well, the letters are being sent out in more than one language, to be able to cover a full community is going to give you accurate understanding of that community, the data that you need to pick a superintendent that is going to be over that same subsection of parents, students, and community members?
Let me answer it differently for you. This is a robust crowd compared to some of the districts I've been in. Larger districts there have been fewer people. I did Syracuse last year, and the community forum. Matter of fact, they started early. Had community forums in the morning and in the afternoon across the entire city. When I added them up at the total, we had about 65 people to do community forums. So when you ask me what's typical, it depends on what's happening. If there's something dramatic happening in the district, more people turn out. If there is I was in Lowndes County in Northern Virginia, 80,000 students in the district. We had something like only 400 to do the survey, let alone the personal visits. So this is representative. We do, if you look at, if it was a scientific group, I would tell you it's scientific and we could make those determinations. But if there were 200 people in here and if we're all from the same group, it would not be scientific and it wouldn't be a cross-section of the district. So my take is that from that cross-section of the district, people here talking about what they believe the district needs. Is it a scientifically section? I can't do the math on that. It's just because we don't know enough about the people in the room. But I assume that the folks here are interested. Yes, ma'am. Why don't you finish the challenge since you got the microphone close to it?
No, I just wanted to add, in light of what you said, I just wanted to add another challenge up for the superintendent.
Great.
For the superintendent coming in, a challenge a challenge is going to be, you have a board that essentially is getting a vote of no confidence from a majority of the community and the parents. So they will have to deal with a board that has lost complete trust from the community and the parents, in addition to potentially a parent mutiny, because we're over it and we've had it and it's not going to stand. So that understanding that you're going to be coming into a situation where you may be feeling a significant amount of hostility from the community you're serving. So that's going to be a challenge.
Great. Is there someone? Yes.
And to piggyback on the trust, part of the reason that we might not have more of a representation of people here at this meeting is that we had forums, it was related to the reorganization, but we had forums that were, were more robust even than this, much more robust. And at this point, the community does not feel heard. So this is a significant challenge for our superintendent, that there is a lack of trust. And part of the reason that more people did not show up today is because decisions have moved forward and they don't feel like they're being heard. And they don't trust where the survey is coming from. They don't trust who made the survey, which is why I want to ask, is the survey a survey that you use in all districts? Or was it just an objective general, or is it a survey that the board had input on?
None of the above. None.
So who composed the survey?
HYA, I don't know if you were here when I said it earlier, but it's a research-based survey. You did hear that?
I might have missed it.
Okay. That it is a research-based survey based and predicated on the principles of what a good superintendent should be about. The survey does not go into the district in any shape, form, or fashion. The results go back to our office in Chicago. They compile it, report it, and I bring it back to you, or we bring it back to you as part of the leadership profile report. And I will tell you, the thing that makes sense if you would tell us, what are the underlying feelings of why there's missing trust? I mean, I've heard trust in every group that we've been in, but what are the causes of it? Trust isn't the problem. Trust is the result of a problem. So help us and tell us, what are those underlying things that's driving distrust in the district?
There has been this, so lack of timeline.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, but it's part of the
I'll get
challenge
to
as
you.
well.
I'll get to you. If you're the next one, I will. But if someone else is before you, no, I don't see any hands. It's all yours.
So part of the challenge is the timeline in which surveys have been disseminated.
Not sufficient time. It has been timelines of when forums are held, that they've been held, town halls have been held on times of the day, days of the week, right before breaks, not enough notice, not enough of a time frame for there to be really a dissemination of the survey. The reality is that it takes time for people to really find out about things in this district. And the time frames that we have been given have not been sufficient to really get enough people to participate. And the time, you know, the heads up, the notifications, and we have a population that is not represented here because of the lack of language, the lack of interpreting, interpretation, whether there's machines or interpreters. People are not showing up because they don't feel that they're going to be represented.
Thank you. Anyone else? And I'll move to the third. One more, I'll move to the third question.
Sorry. I think just related to that, I think also just openness. Like, I know there was an email that went out a while ago regarding input around what schools should close and why, whatever. But there wasn't enough information around the lack of money. So I know, like, my husband filled it out not realizing that we were in the negatives. So it didn't really make sense, right, to ask people to fill out a survey around what should close and why without giving the full story, right? Because that would impact your answer. If I knew we had no money and we were actually in a deficit, then my answer is very different around what should close and why versus me thinking, I guess, like, that there's some money. So I think just being more transparent around issues as they come and not just sort of giving partial stories, because I think then your answer changes accordingly, right? So when I went home from the meeting and said, we're in like the negatives, he's like, well, that would have changed my answer had that information been put on the email in relation to the question. So I think also not being heard, but I think also just, I guess, more clarity around some of the issues when input's being asked, and also when there's, like, in a timely manner in which to sort of give some answers around it, right? Like in a point where it would make a difference. And then just a question for you. When were you guys hoping to actually officially launch the search? Like, post it and really get it off the ground?
Well, it's posted already.
Okay, so it's already posted.
Yes, it's posted, but from our standpoint, it officially starts next week when we present our report to the board. And that's the official. And why that's the official is because the posting is a very generic statement now. The board will look at a refined statement and modify it or not and approve it. And then once they approve that, the desired characteristics report, we will then officially kick it off and go to all of the venues and everyone will see the final deal. So it's posted. We're already starting to get applications. Not a lot in some people's minds, but at this stage of the process, to have any applications is a win-win.
Okay. And then I guess when are you thinking the latest would be in terms of accepting, or is there no endpoint, like accepting applications?
Except, what's the date? I don't remember. It's if the LPR, it's sometime in March. I don't remember the exact date. I want to say March 17th, but it is on the timeline. Go to the webpage. The timeline is there. Everything is there.
Okay, sir, and related to the superintendent, I guess if there's no person in that position, I guess what I'm trying to ask, and maybe you don't know the answers, are decisions that would normally be made by the superintendent, the one who's there is leaving. So then I guess who's kind of making those decisions if, in a sense, one's leaving, but we don't have one in place? Is it just, are things on hold, or is who then makes those decisions at this point?
That sounds like a board decision. I'm not sure I understood all the question, but when you talk about superintendents and the number leaving, all of that, it's board. You talk about selecting the next superintendent, it's the board. We'll bring them the best information we have on the folks that we are recommending, but they make the decisions. That's their job. That's their responsibility.
I think it sounded like, is there going to be a lapse in leadership? Is that what?
Yeah, it was what you said and then what you said, like both questions. So yes, you answered part of it and then you said the other part.
I have, based on the timeline and discussions we have at the board, there's no noticeable lapse. That is we said July 1st. You can't have multiple superintendents, so we will bring a slate in. I think I mentioned April 15th. We'll have the preferred candidate, and they will go through the deep background checks and the contractual pieces and all of that. The board will go through and have a person in place ready to start June 1st. So there's no discernible lapse in not having a superintendent. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You mentioned that it wasn't like a lot of, I guess, concerned citizens here, but you didn't use that term. I'm just putting it in there.
Okay.
Okay, review the meeting that the board presented at Graham School, how we was treated, and you will see why a lot of the parents did not come out tonight. And it's all about trust and how you are treated. And we are not treated fair in this community with this board. That's the reason.
Thank you.
Just review that and review the last couple of board meetings, but please review the meeting they had at Graham School. Please do that.
I will. Now that you mention it, I will do it. But as I stand here, I will tell you, I don't look at it. I don't form opinions before I get before the crowd and we do the focus groups, because everything gets filtered and everybody has an opinion. So I don't want to be tainted when I try to aggregate all the information and write a report of my part of it. But I'll look at it post and more closely than what we have. Yes.
So this is the community meeting, and you mentioned focus groups. What are those focus group breakouts going to be? Like, who are going to be on the different focus group panels? Is it, like, what is that demographic? And where are you getting it from a cross-section of the community? Or is it from the central community? Like, how is these focus groups going to be formed? Or how is the people picked to be on the focus group? Because I would think that you would want to have different subsets, so it wouldn't just be, like we're community here, but then the focus groups would break out into like having student focus groups and maybe clergy and community members, because while this is a superintendent search, I would think that community members who pay taxes, because we pay taxes if we own homes here, they should also have some type of say because their taxes go towards paying that person's salary. So what is the focus group panels? What's the consistency of?
We have a list of groups that are internal and external to the community. I'd be interested in your definition of cross community, what that means. But we have parents with kids in class, teachers, administrators, assistant administrators, support staff, students, business groups, and I'm missing some, I'm sure, but there's probably about 15 groups, external and internal, that are representatives within in the community. They come in, we talk to them and we ask them the same 3 questions that we ask you. We have a community forum designed specifically so that those folks who are working and can't make the daytime focus groups, they have the evening groups to come in. And that's the reason that a lot of you are here, I'm sure, but to try to make sure at the end of the day that everybody's had an opportunity to participate and provide us with their input. We don't ask any more questions of the focus groups. It's just a name to categorize the 8 to 10 people that may be there that we try to do them in. And it's used, focus groups, as you know, are used extensively across the country for people seeking information, and where you can't bring in a whole organization. So they're productive, they're representative, and quite frankly, the ones that we've talked to so far are pretty much what we've been hearing tonight. Yeah, the neighborhood groups and the clergy are also part of those focus groups. Yes. Anyone else? Well, tell me this. What I need to know is this. You've all told me what the problems are. And tell me, what do you think, describe what your perfect superintendent should be about, and what should we look for as we start the recruiting process? I mean, everything that you think of, besides being able to leap tall buildings and go across large river crossings. What do you think is the characteristics that you would like to see in the new superintendent? Skills-wise, experiences, attributes. Now's the time to draw your perfect superintendent that you're going to send us out to look for. Yes, sir.
I think that a superintendent needs to be able to manage limited resources, be able to keep up with the changing of the landscape when it comes to education, being fast-paced, knowing how to address diversity, different communities, different backgrounds, different religions, and knowing how to be effective with communication, because a lot of parents are struggling to guide their kids on what they want them to do, and students don't really have an opportunity to express what they are needing in class to pay attention. They're not interested in school the way they used to be, and the superintendent needs to find programs that keeps them interested in school, wanting to go to school, wanting to go to college, not wanting to hurt each other or jealous each other because they see one has more than the other. Some families don't have the funding to assist the schools to keep them interested. So what are the plans? What the superintendent needs to be able to do is multitask and be fast-paced, to be honest.
I think one of the attributes that the superintendent should have is to, while we are all in a digital age, there are still people who are not technically savvy. And so that superintendent needs to be able to spin on a dime, be able to, balance the seesaw. And so be able to get down to like the grassroots of the families and the people that's in the neighborhood, and not just rely heavily on technology. We have to take it old school back, because the papers in the backpack, that helps disseminate the information, as well as just saying go online. You know, even with our children being on break and they have winter packets or reading packets, it's always a digital book. And I'm an older parent, and so I try to have my daughter have a book in hand. And so we want to get back to that. So we want the superintendent to, while yes, be in the 21st century and have her or his finger on the pulse, but also be able to meet the people where they are at, especially with our community when we have an influx of of people who English isn't their first language. And so to be able to meet everyone in our community.
Thank you. Yes.
Just to piggyback what the young lady said, it's a lot of grandparents that is raising children, and they are not tech savvy. So like she said, the paperwork does work. And as far as a superintendent goes, the person needs to show empathy. They need to be clear in their decisions. They do not need to go along to get along. If they have a sound decision, to stand the grounds. I know that they report to the board, but if the board is not doing what they should be doing, have the courage to stand up to them. Be strong, be patient. That's what a good superintendent should be.
And be right.
And be right, exactly.
That's it. It always helps. Anyone else? Your ideal superintendent? I think our names and numbers, emails will be on the webpage tomorrow. So if you should forget something, feel free to just email us or text us. And we'll be happy to include it as part of the comments. Yeah.
So I just have a simple attribute. Everybody's here tonight because they are vested in Mount Vernon. The board trustees.
Could you speak up, sir? I'm not hearing you.
The board trustees are here as residents of Mount Vernon. We are here as residents of Mount Vernon. I don't think that the next superintendent has to be a resident of Mount Vernon, but I do feel that it would be in the best interest for everybody if that superintendent was willing to relocate at least to Westchester County or, I don't know, within a half-an-hour drive from Mount Vernon City School District. Somebody that could be responsive. There's a lot that goes on in this community, and if you live in the area, you're better suited to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, whether it's just Westchester, whether it's Lower Hudson Valley. So I think that should be something that is considered, that at least that person is willing to relocate if they do get the job to this area. Doesn't have to be Mount Vernon, but at least within a decent driving distance of Mount Vernon. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ideal superintendent. Yes. Go ahead. I don't know which one, but she's there, so go ahead.
I think an ideal superintendent would be a superintendent that's like welcoming to parent feedback, open to having conversations with the community, listening to the community, and a superintendent that could help us help us elevate, help the district elevate with students and even with our curriculum and even some of the programs that we have in our schools.
Could I help you elevating teaching and learning? Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, it is an accurate statement. Because one thing, even separate from this, I wanted to say more so where I know this is the only community forum that you're going to do here, but in the future, if you could even send out the list of questions, send out the list of the responses, like what you want us to respond to, it's easy because then we can plan, because it's like trying to think off the whim. It's kind of hard.
I think we have in a couple of places. When we come back to do this again in about 8 years, I'll make sure we do that. Yeah. But,
regarding attributes, I feel that a superintendent should be visible and present among the different schools and events held by the district, approachable and accessible, even if it's by appointment or by email. For staff, I feel that they need a superintendent that is supportive and an ally of the challenges they face, and to not be concerned that there may be a culture of retaliation.
Thank you. Thank you. Ideal superintendent. If you can't tell me now, you won't know him when you, or her when you see them.
I think somebody obviously that comes with some experience, because this is a tough place to walk into. So I think someone with some good experience for the job. And I think someone who has experience that helps them in terms of the education piece to really do a good job on the education side, but also somebody who has some fiscal sense. Because even though it's not necessarily the superintendent's job to figure out all the fiscal stuff, I think they kind of go hand in hand in terms of, you know, elevating programs and teachers and staff, et cetera, and after-school programs, day programs, but also, because we're in a fiscal mess, having some fiscal sense around what is feasible, what isn't, and guiding people who have clearly no clue, because we are where we are. So I think the education piece, but I think there's also a little bit of a fiscal piece that it would be great if they had kind of, I guess, like, you know, kind of experience in both ways. And experience that, like I say, is on the education side, but also places that haven't been so smooth.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
A great educator that can count money. Okay. We got it. Anyone else? There is first of all, Karen and I thank you. This is it's always, for me, I enjoy the interaction. And I wish we had more time to debate some of the things that I heard tonight. And you probably feel the same way. You want to take me outside to the North 40 and have a real discussion with me. But it's this information that is extremely important to us. We will treat it accordingly. And everyone talks about trust. I don't know anyone in town. I think there's a lady here that moved from Poughkeepsie. She was in our church. I believe she's here, either in Yorktown. Her husband was a fire chief, passed away about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer now. But so the point of that is that I don't know anyone. I've bet everyone through the same boards. Karen doesn't know anyone. She's further away than I am. And we will ensure that everyone is vetted through the same lens. We have no hidden agendas. We want to have the best person possible for this district. So you go Google me next time for the next position, the next person Googles me, they will have Mount Vernon as a success story. So it's important for us to do the best we can for you, and we will. I think it is, a lot of people talk about a lot of things not being just right, but I tell you, it's a great community with a lot of upside potential. We want to find someone to help you make that next step. There's no other way, there's no other reason for us to be here. And we promise you we will do just that. There's if by chance you think there's someone out there that you know that can reach those lofty goals that you've set up and that you've talked about, then send us those names to us. We vet every name that you send us. We take us through a process and see if they reach certain lines of qualifications. So no one, and we would take them, if they pass the first test, then we take them through all of the vetting that everyone else goes through. I think I mentioned earlier, no special treatment for anyone in the system. The board hasn't asked us to do anything like that, so they haven't given us any direction who we should bring, who we should not bring. It is so the people that come forward, you want to blame someone, blame Karen. It is our recommendation to the board, unfiltered by anything from the board. So that is I think that's how you start to build trust. I think trust is an end result. It's all the things that you do leading up to that. I hope we live up to your expectations. I believe it will. And if there are no other comments. Who? Yes.
I just wanted to add an attribute for the superintendent. Obviously, I agree with everything that everybody's saying, but also I think that we need somebody dynamic that can excite everybody in Mount Vernon again, and really encourage, like want people to stay, want their kids to stay. So somebody that's dynamic, that has a vision and can that's can stick up to it. But I mean, we need somebody that not just visible, but like someone that can lead and that you want to follow.
Great, thank you. I got two questions for you. Yeah. Is Mount Vernon a suburban or urban city? Beg pardon?
It's a good question, though, right?
Is both the consensus?
Yes.
The superintendent should have which experience, urban or suburban?
Urban, because more than likely if it's urban, the diversity is going to be higher, so.
Interesting. Should he or she be a sitting superintendent or someone who's had a great body of work in a large district? Currently sitting, not the superintendent, has nothing to do with, don't equate it to anyone you know. Just as a person, history, background, do you want someone who's experienced as a sitting superintendent or one who has had ample experience in a large district, a great body of work? Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I would like to see a superintendent that has had experience, been in different places in the country, is active in organizations, educational organizations, social organizations, because he mixes it up. But I don't want to see somebody at the end of the year try, at the end of his career, just saying, well, I have 2 more years to retirement. I don't want that end of that spectrum either. So somebody that's dynamic, can socialize, is eager to learn, doesn't think he's right all the time, listens to the board, but listens to the community too, and is willing to get into the trenches, whether it's in church, the local Ys, whatever. All areas Mount Vernon has, even though it's 4 square miles, it's extremely diverse. He has to be willing to get around to all those communities to do so.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. If you have other information for us, if you wake up late tonight and you want to send us something, just text it to us. If you want to call us, call us. We accept all calls. Or send us an email if you want to put it in writing. Drive home, get home safely. And again, thank you for being part of the process and part of the new future for Mount Vernon. Thank you.